Let's fix this up a little bit. Hello, good evening. Happy Thursday. And we made it. We're on day 4. Happy to have you with me. Yep, YouTube is still not playing nice with me, but I am playing its little game in a way that I'll win at some point. But anyway, I just want to go ahead and dive into it. We are on day 4 and talking about our rest before launching series. I'm excited that we made it this far for us to keep diving into like what kind of rest you need, what kind of rest is out there. Because I feel like when people say rest, it becomes like this blanketed term, this blanketed word. And it's like, well, what does that mean? What are you saying? So I'm glad that we can break this down together and get into some real details about what this means, how it can bless your life, and of course, how this lays the platform for you to launch into everything that you're looking for, that you desire, that you deserve going through the rest of 2021 and beyond. That is the goal. So how are you feeling? If you've been watching with me, tracking with me thus far, every day this week, what are you taking in? What's your biggest takeaway? I want to hear about it. Or have you figured out like, yep, that's the kind of rest that I need to move into for this next season? I want to know that too. If that's the place that you've centered on to say, you know what, after all of this, I really need to get into mental and emotional rest, or perhaps it's physical rest. But I'm telling you, I'm so excited to talk about spiritual rest, probably because that has been the most recent season, right, that I've encountered. So it's so fresh for me. So I have all this excitement to share everything that involves spiritual rest. So did I say that? Spiritual rest? Yes. Okay. Most people haven't heard of spiritual rest. Like that's not something we say in our regular vernacular. That's not something we say in our normal conversation is, have you spiritually rested? Like that's not what's happening. So I wanted to bring this here so that we can have that conversation and recognize and hold space for the fact that you might need rest in this area. So before we dig into it, you already know what I am going to say, which is what? I'm going to ask you to hit the bell on my channel if you haven't subscribed already to make sure you're notified every time I post a new video. Maybe it'll be live like this or it'll be a recorded one, but just know that I have you in mind every time I post something on my YouTube channel. It's not just for I don't know, for you to just see what I do every day, all day. Like this is supposed to be equipping you. So consider this one of the tools in your toolbox to equip you for the next stage that you are supposed to be going into. Cool? All right. So spiritual rest. How do you know if you need to enter a season of spiritual rest? And for everyone I mentioned, put it in the chat. Like, yep, that's me, or I've been there. Just let me know that I'm not talking to myself. But for one thing, and I don't want to say I blame, but it's just the nature of our culture, which is you feel increasingly responsible for your own journey. So if you feel like this depends on me, I got to do all of this. I mean, I got to take care of it all. I got to bring myself out. I have to. So if you feel like you are pulling yourself up by your bootstraps every day, that you are walking this road, carrying all your baggage, doing your best to unload some while you get some new baggage that you carry with you, that's a sign that you need spiritual rest. If you feel like it's just you. And we can be believers and be like, oh, yes, hallelujah. I have faith in God. I believe in God. But I'm going to carry my stuff and I'm going to take care of my business the way I know how. You don't have the capacity to do that. Did you think about that? And I'm not being mean to you. I'm saying that because I did that. I did that for a very long time. And I don't want you to do that. But recognize it. You feel like it's all on me. And music says that, right? Like, I feel like most of our music pumps us up to be like, oh, yeah, I did this. Or, you know, I I got the bag. All of that is a sign that you need spiritual rest, really. If you are too depleted to pour into anyone else. Now, we all have gifts. I forget the verse in the Bible, but it says that God has given us all gifts, right? He's given us varied gifts, and that it displays his varied grace. So with our gifts, we serve other people, we pour into other people. But when you are so depleted, where you like, I don't have nothing to give. I don't have nothing to give. And I don't mean like for a day. If you had a long day or a hard day and you say, you know what, I can't go any further. Okay. Have your day. That's cool. But when it's every day, when maybe a mentor of yours, a mentee, excuse me, of yours is calling you just to catch up and you're like, oh, well, I can't, I don't want to talk to them right now. But you constantly need to be poured into, and then it's not sticking. So that means you don't have the place to hold anything of authority. So you're too depleted, you can't give, and then what you're receiving is just like flushing out of you. And that's a sign that you need some spiritual rest. A good one is if you've iced God out of your routine. So when I say you've iced God out, it's in a way saying like, okay, God, I'm going to get to you. I'm going to get to you, God. And we might not think that we do that, but it's so easy to sneak up on us and do, like with the spirit of busyness and being concerned with the cares of this world. It's easy to be like, oh, I'll get to that. Okay. Oh, I know I was supposed to have some quiet time with you, Lord, but I just had so many things to do. If you find yourself saying things like that, then it's definitely time to take a break. And in that situation, you want to take a break before God sits you down and you have no choice but to take a break. And ain't nothing like when a parent sits you down, right? I think about kids and think about your kids. And I'm sure there have been times where you have told your kids, hey, sit down, sit down, sit down. And if they don't listen and they're doing whatever the heck they want to do, what do? Especially if they're small enough, you go ahead and sit them down. Is that a pleasant process? No, it's not pleasant for you. It's not pleasant for them. But that's the same thing that happens with God. At some point, if you've professed your life to him, he's like, okay, child, you're praying to me. I want to answer your prayers, but it's going to require that you sit down and listen to what I have to say and glean from these downloads that I have. So if you have iced God out of your routine and that's spending that specific time with him, then you need some spiritual rest, and do it proactively and not reactively. If you slip into bad habits, into sin too easily, where maybe before or when you were really strong in your faith, it was really easy for you to say, okay, no, I'm not going to do that, or I'm disciplined, I'm not going to watch that, I'm not going to listen to that, or I'm not going to talk to this person, or I'm not going to gossip with this person and let them take me down the road that I ain't got no business going, because then I'll be professing things with my mouth that ultimately will come back to be my ruin. So if you are finding yourself to be like, oh, well, that's okay. Oh, that ain't really a big thing. Or I don't need to repent for that. That wasn't that bad. This is not a big deal. That's a sign that you need to enter a phase of spiritual rest, because there is a disconnect. There is not a hunger anymore for the things of God and for the food of God and for everything that he feeds you. You're missing that. And I caution you, you do not want to be out here trying to conquer the world or trying to get to the next phase and be promoted to the next thing. And then be like, oh, well, then that means you left little doors open in your mind. You left little doors open in your heart for all kind of mess to come on in. And you don't even know it, because you've become so passive and so laxed in the things of God that you just like, come on in. Yes. Okay. Overspending. Yes. You could just sit down right there. No problem. Oh, okay. Fornication. Today I'll say yes. Like whatever that thing is, you just let it come in and sit on your couch to the point where Now it's living with you. Don't do that. And then lastly, another indicator that you need spiritual rest is if you feel unfulfilled, even though you've attained the things that you've wanted to attain, right? So maybe you done bought the car, you done bought the house, you got the degree, so you got the earthly things. So technically, by that equation, you should be happy, you should feel joyous, you should feel content. But if you're finding that even though you've achieved these things, but you're still like hollow, definitely a sign that you need to enter this season of spiritual rest. No shame here. This is a judgment-free zone, but it's a real zone. So take heed to that. Take that inventory. If you need to go back and watch this video, remember the things I mentioned, I implore you to do that. So what does it mean for you to be spiritually rested? Like, how does that feel? What does that look like? Can you even name someone who you can say, man, that person has gotten some good spiritual rest? You know how you see somebody and they look like refreshed, like, oh, girl, you got some good sleep. That conversation should be happening within this realm of spiritual rest as well. So to be spiritually rested is you live with this mindset that God is your absolute source for everything every day. Like he becomes your partner, right? So if there's a problem you can't solve, even if it is something you can solve, but you say, okay, God, how do we go about this? God, what do you say about this? Or God, how do I speak to this situation? God, what's the best way for me to approach this situation at work? Not that it's a good or a bad thing, but just how do you want me to approach this? That's like inviting him into your everyday so that you know that what you're doing, he has ordained, that he has approved, that he has blessed you to do. So you've invited him so deep into everything you're doing. You're like, I rest in him. If you hear people say like, I rest in God, that's what it means. That we've had a conversation, we've had a powwow, we've had a meetup, and this is our plan for moving forward. This is our plan for living life. So in this sense, we look at God as I'm partnering with him with everything that I'm doing. Not let me rub this lamp and tell God my wish today so that he can go ahead and grant it. And then I'm going to be good for a little while so I can go ahead and get this wish. A lot of us do that. Maybe it doesn't feel that dramatic, or maybe it doesn't feel that far, like so far on the end of the spectrum. Maggie, I'm glad that was confirmation. Yes, we rub him. We rub him like, God, you're infinite, right? So I get more than 3 wishes. So like, give them to me. I'm going to be good so I can get the thing. So it's not a transactional relationship anymore, but it is a relationship of partnership. It's a marriage. It's a marriage. Just like some of us are waiting on spouses, or we have spouses. That healthy home is when you and your spouse are doing things together, and you start to see cracks if you are in that situation, or you know people in that situation where the spouse then ran off and did something and then came back and told the other one like, yeah, that's what I did. That never leaves any positive outcomes in that situation. That brings strife, that brings division, right? So the same thing happens in our relationship with God when we go off and be like, all right, check it. So I'm going to go buy this house because I like it and I deserve it. And I think that's what I'm supposed to do. And then I'll come back and talk to you about it later. What the heck? God is like, oh, okay, but then you go with my blessings. Girl, I don't work that way. But to be spiritually rested is we walk together, step by step, arm in arm. We're in this life together. So that's a key indicator that you are or have arrived at, or you walk in spiritual rest. You get full from your daily bread. How about that? Let's go back to the Lord's Prayer. I know I've said that a lot as a kid. My mom, she would teach it to me, and we would say it every night before we go to bed. But it wasn't until recently that I started really comprehending what that meant. Give us this day our daily bread, meaning I should be going to him daily. He feeds me daily. He feeds you daily if you show up for him to feed you. Otherwise, you're getting fed by something. Every day we get fed by something. There's something fueling us. But that daily bread, meaning what God gave you for the day, even if you're waiting on an answer for something, it's enough. And if you spend time with him, if you spend time in his word, there's going to be a nugget in there that's going to carry you through the whole day, and it'll be enough. It'll be enough. So being full from that, not like, okay, God, I'm waiting on the answer, or I need comfort and you're not comforting me, so let me go find it somewhere else. No. Being spiritually rested is, this is what I'm meditating on. This is what I'm focusing on today. And it's good. It's good. This is my portion today. And he's going to feed me tomorrow too. And that's going to be good. And that's going to be enough. When you are spiritually rested, you can call out and cast down distractions. When you're at rest, it's easy to identify things that take you out of your rest. And usually we call those distractions. And with that, we're able to identify that and be like, oh, no, I rebuke that. That is not what God has for me. Or this is going to take me off my focus and my purpose and this alignment, or this healing, this pruning work that he's doing in me. This is going to take me away from that. So, nope, I'm not going to engage with that. And, distractions come in all forms. Distractions don't pop up like, hey, I'm a distraction. So you can be like, no, I'm not going there with you today. But distractions show up as your friend who calls to wail or complain, but don't want to take any accountability for what she's doing. Distractions come in a form of an ex that you haven't heard from in a long time, who stirs up a trigger of yours. Distractions come in the form of, a project that you're working on at work that seems to like not be going anywhere. You keep pushing, and it's so they come in the sneakiest of forms, in a way that is just, that can take you out, that can take you off the path that you're supposed to be on. But when you are spiritually rested, you can see that thing a mile away and not engage with it, not get entangled with it, but move past it. Oh, I done dodged that. Oh, duck and dodge. Nope. And that includes with people. So, and then lastly, what it means to be spiritually rested is that you stop seeking external and material possessions to fill voids, but instead you stand on God's promises that provide you strength. So and I know I've talked about possessions already, and sometimes we do that. We shop, we eat, we have sex, we complain because there's something in here that's missing, or something in here that's not right. And it may feel good for a minute. I love chocolate. I love chocolate a lot. Like the people at the Lindt store, y'all know the Lindt chocolates, the little chocolate balls? Ma'am, they know me. I don't even live by there. Now I'm telling on myself, and I'm cool with it. That mall is like 20 plus minutes from my house. And I like my chocolates. So I can have 1 or 2 little balls in a day and go on about my business. But these people, I don't know. I had been in there maybe 1 too many times in a short time span. I got a mask on. I had a different hairstyle. And they were like, hey, I know you. I'm like, you do? Wow. You must work here. No, ma'am, I don't work at the mall. I just really enjoy your chocolates. But it's one thing to eat that in moderation. It's another thing to feel anxious and to feel anxiety and be like, oh, let me just like stuff it down with these chocolates, because chocolate releases endorphins, and now I'm chemically high from this thing. Or if it's a good meal, I keep saying food because I'm a foodie, or If it's a person who you know is going to commiserate with you, like you miserable, they miserable, and y'all just get on the phone for hours and be like, girl, your misery ain't like my misery, but let me tell you why your ma'am. So when you're spiritually rested, you can say, okay, I don't feel good today. I I'm not right spiritually, emotionally, but I'm going to stand on God's promise instead of taking this thing to try to fill it, which will never do that anyway. For me, one verse that I have to stand on is my favorite verse in the Bible, which is Proverbs 3:5 and 6, which is, trust the Lord and lean out into your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him and he will make your path straight. I have to say that every day because there are things, I'm a person, I like to figure out things. I feel great when I know the outcome of things, but that's not what faith is. So I have to stand on that instead of going to get my favorite brownie. So when you're spiritually at rest, though, you can identify it and just go in your prayer closet or go or call that person that's going to pour into you. You don't have to get that external thing to temporarily fill this void. All right. So I know that was a lot, but how do you enter this place of spiritual rest? Well, the very first thing I would tell you to do is to determine where you left God at. Where did you leave him? Where did you were partners at one point, or he was teaching you how to walk, and you said, "All right, though, I'll be right back," or "I see this shiny red thing over here, and I'm gonna run towards it," or I don't really like the pace that we going at, God, so I'm gonna go up here and do it myself. No, ma'am. You need to go back to where you left him, because all that journey, all that way, there was damage and destruction that you created. You need to go back and be like, okay, God, clearly my way was not the way. It was not it. So let's walk this thing together. Go back to where you left God. Go back, go back. I can't say that enough. Like, I'm feeling it heavy. Go back to where you left him and say, I don't need to do this alone. We are partners. You are my spouse. Let's do this together. Identify what your biggest distractions are and then put them on pause. So, okay, I kind of beat up on distractions today. Not all distractions are bad, but they may be a distraction in that season to where in another season it's an opportunity. But if it's distracting you from peace, if it's taking you to a place of anxiety, if you're overwhelmed, whatever that is, it's a distraction. So put it on pause for a second. Doesn't mean that you'll be doing that for a lifetime, but put it on pause for a second. And then get back and ask God, what should you be focusing on? Like, I really want to do this, or I have this desire and I really care about that thing. But just press pause for a second. And I talked about this in the foundational video. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch it. But then there might be something that you need to focus on first for that thing that you're wanting, desiring, caring about, before it can flourish the way that it's supposed to. So put it on pause for just a season. And then consecrate yourself to God through fasting and prayer. For you to walk with him, for you to understand his voice and understand his ways, you got to be intimate with him. And intimacy with God is humbling yourself. Prayer is a great way to do that, to give up some of your time, right? For you and God to go on a date. Just like you make an appointment or to take care of your health or to see a mental health professional, make an appointment for your spiritual checkup as well. And then through fasting, I am like not always on a fast, but when I feel called to it, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. If it's in a corporate setting or personally, if I find myself irritated or like if I don't know, I'm brooding or something, I'm like, oh, okay, so I need to fast. And I've seen the results on the other side of that, of maturity or growth. Or I'll look up and be like, man, that thing don't even bother me no more. That comes from that intimacy and pressing in and like the two becoming one, for you to not be so separate from God, but for you to walk as one. That's a great way for you to enter spiritual rest. Also, you can write down all of the places where you have been striving to overcome something in your own power, and instead give it to God. So what is it where you have been like, okay, I can give God these things, but this one thing, I just want to hold this because it gives me my false sense of control that I can take care of it. Give that thing to him. That very thing that you struggle with, that is just whipping you around like a towel, whatever that is, give that to him. Truly give that to him. And then don't strive anymore. That doesn't mean that you don't think about it. Pray about it. Go into that prayer and fasting with that thing. But you're going to get off of that hamster wheel. Think about what a hamster wheel is. That's what striving does. We're not supposed to be toiling. Like, that was part of the curse. You work, you create, but you don't toil and strive. So give that thing to God. Maybe that's what you fast on this season, and watch how either he'll bring you out of that thing or he'll heal you through that thing. And then a great way that has blessed me so much in entering spiritual rest is to get a prayer partner or an accountability partner, a faith partner, who's going to stand in agreement with you about these things. Whatever it is you need that healing for, or that you want to achieve when you get out of rest and onto that phase of launching, to have someone that's going to keep you accountable, who's going to cover you in prayer, who will not commiserate with you on phone, and who, at the end of everything, they're not just going to give you their opinions. They're going to say, okay, this is what I think God is saying, or they're going to point you back to the word. So get somebody like that who can really walk with you through this thing. So what are you striving for right now? Don't be ashamed. Like I said, this is a judgment-free zone, but there's something that a lot of us are striving for in our own power. And I was there at one point. Literally everything in life I was striving for, but I have gotten off of that train, and it's the reward coming from that has been so great. So whatever it is you're striving for, tell me about it. I want to know, and share it with folks who may be struggling with that same thing. Spiritual rest will be soothing for your soul if you find yourself like striving for that. And then the last thing is how entering spiritual rest is going to replenish you for your purpose. Remember, professional purpose launcher over here. I'm a career coach, but it's in that space of professionally launching people into their purpose. So how are you going to enter this in a way where it'll keep you on track? So you allow God the room and the power to bless you. You give him room. You don't have to you don't do things for your own power to say, I did that. I achieved that. No. You give God room to have the glory all by himself. And his ways are higher than your ways. His thoughts are higher than your thoughts. So you get out of the way with all of your human limitations and say, God, do your thing. And you just tell me how I am to walk in this season. Woo, the big one that's going to help you along your purpose if you choose to enter spiritual rest, which is your discernment will be increased to determine, should I be taking this opportunity or not? What should I be focusing my time and my energy on today? And what people do I need on my path? Like, who's a part of my team, as well as who do I not need to be bothered with this season? Or maybe our season has run course. Whatever it is, when you come from a place of spiritual rest, you can discern. And discernment is such a key skill and tool to have in your toolbox. Because without discernment, we end up in more trouble than we need to be in, because we've gone down places we didn't have to go down, and we want to blame the world. We want to shake our fist at Satan, but girl, you did that. You did that. You went down there. Didn't nobody tell you to do that. You signed for that thing. You took this job. Nobody told you to do that. But coming from a place of spiritual rest, you have the discernment to say, not right now, not in this season. Yes, Maggie, I'm glad that you found out to be a good idea with entering this place. And just know this comes from tried and true experience. And then lastly, you allow God to put his super on your natural gifts. We all have gifts and talents, and you know that when I'm talking to folks about career transitioning, I'm trying to bring those gifts out and to make sure that's what you're doing at work so that it's not pulling from your energy and your sources and all these other ways. But when you are at rest, you say, these are my gifts. I work on them. I till them like you till the soil. I water them, and then but I allow God to put his super on there because he gave you these gifts, right? He gave you these talents. When he knit you together in your mother's womb, he was like, okay, I'm going to give this person the gift of speaking. We go wrong when we take it and we try to show it to the world like, see, this is what I can do. See, this is why you should hire me. God putting his super on your natural, it opens doors that you could never open on your own or that you would never even think to approach. So that's all I have for today and day 4, spiritual rest. This taking the time to go through that season of spiritual rest and to not strive is actually going to cover you in all of those other areas that we've discussed. So the mental and emotional rest, the physical rest, and then tomorrow we'll be talking about social rest. Spiritual rest is really the foundation for covering all of those things and will bring all of that forward. And it also serves as the foundation for you to have sustainable growth. Some people grow a little bit and then the distractions or lack of discernment will knock them back down. And that's a frustrating place. And if you don't need to be there, then don't go there, child. But it's the foundation for all of that, for you to really take off and soar into everything God has for you, which is much, much bigger than what you have for yourself. So don't forget, tomorrow will be day 5. It'll be our final day together. That means we have spent the whole week together talking about the beginning of the year, walking into this rest and getting prepared to take off and to soar. There's some big things available for the people of God if we get on track this year. So make sure you check me out. I was on about like 7:05. I did a little better today with whatever the YouTube monsters try to throw me off with. But make sure you come back tomorrow. And if you missed yesterday was about mental and emotional rest. And even if you didn't miss it and you saw it, I would encourage you to go back and rewatch all of these videos because you need to determine, where am I going? What do I need? What does my soul need? You need to go back and check that out. But luckily, I've provided the links below for you in the description for you to go back and check those out. A good place to keep this discussion going, or if you want to message me, be like, Davina, yeah, girl, I think the spiritual rest is where it's at. Make sure you check out my group, From Stagnant Job to Ideal Career, where we talk about those things. And I talk about career stuff. I talk about all kinds of stuff in that group. And then lastly, if you like this video, I'm going to tell you to hit the thumbs up. It's going to help people to find this video. And then for people you know who might need this, share this with them. Share this with them and say, hey, you look a little tired. You might want to think about getting some rest. So share all of these videos with your friends and family who need this. And as always, if you want to know more about me and Upwardly Paved Path, you can check out my website at www.upwardlypavedpath.com for all those career transitioning who are like, what am I doing? Where do I go? If you want to get on this path of moving forward and moving on, you will be checking out the 90-day career fix, which you can find in the description as well as on my website. All right. I know this one was a lot. This was a little longer today, but I just was flowing with it. And I hope that it blessed you And I am excited to spend one more day with you tomorrow at 7:05 p.m. for our final day in talking about rest. So we'll be talking about how to enter into social rest. All right. I'm sending you love, blessings, and some spiritual rest tonight. And I will see you tomorrow.